Oh, you know what, PDS? I forgot to tell you this. Did you
What's
know
up,
that
man?
only like 50% of the people watching this video are subscribed?
I think I've heard that somewhere, and honestly, they should hit subscribe right now.
They should. I'm gonna put this right here. What's up, everybody? Circus here, coming at you with this week's Rogue Deck Roundup. And this week I have PDS with me because I said, "Yo, I'm doing Rogue Decks," and he's like, "Put me in, coach." How you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up? How's everybody doing?
I'm glad to have you here. This is your first Rogue Deck Roundup. How you feeling?
I'm feeling all right.
Getting
I
excited?
like
I
I
mean,
like I like my rogue decks. So
who doesn't? Who doesn't? So, again, this was kind of a light week for Rogue decks just because the way the meta is right now. There were only 13 total decks on the power rankings, and most of the points going to the upper decks. And, well, it was because of KC Cup. There wasn't a lot of tournaments. So, there was only 5 tournaments to begin with. And everybody just not playing the spice this week. As you'll see with the Rogue decks we have, I mean, they are Rogue decks, but they're not very spicy. All right, so let's get right into them. The first one, I don't know, can you consider this a rogue deck? I mean, it was like a number one deck for a long time, but it's fallen off to the point where it just feels like a rogue deck to me. You let me know, PDS. It's Cyber Dragons.
yeah, so Cyber Dragons, they have a they have some decent matchups, but at the same time, one of the most popular decks right now is Noble Knights, and when they have the trap in the graveyard and they summon Noble Knight Brothers, it's a huge problem for Cyber Dragons to get over. They can't deal with
Oh,
it.
they can't get over the
So
2400 defense.
they've really fallen out of favor because honestly, it might just be that. So
Even if you clear their board and they have the trap in the grave, they go to attack, you bring
exactly,
out the brothers, and it's over.
exactly. Like sometimes, I even had games where you set two, and then they're like, "Oh, I have to pop his back row," and then they pop the trap, and you were like completely bricked, and then you get brothers on them, and then they lose. Like it's crazy,
They have
but
nowhere to go.
yeah. So you see a lot of people running. Obviously, they got to run two of the traps, three
Mhm.
cosmics, and they have to go for the Herald of the Abyss as well, just because they have so much trouble dealing with another card in the Noble Knight deck, Custonin. He's
Mhm.
just he floats forever. It's really annoying for Cyber Dragons to push through it. Like they just can't do it.
They did get a top four. I'm looking here, a top four in Battle Phase EU, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, like for sure though, it can if it goes first and it like interrupts the normal summon, yeah, they have a really good chance of winning. But
Well, it looks like they lost either to Onomas or Thunder Dragons. So,
yeah, that's the other thing. The True Nade is just dominates their overflow trap card.
oh
They
yeah,
don't, and then they have really no other interactions. Like they don't have a negate. They don't have like other pops, so they just lose.
they just fold up. Now I
Hmm.
swear I say this every week, but every time I see this deck, there's less monsters in it, and this one only has four. Before it was
Yeah,
five, before it was six. We're down to four now.
they cut the fear. They're only on cores and one OG just for that additional pop. And obviously they have the proto Cyber Dragon as well.
Right. So I don't know. What do you think the future of this deck is?
I mean, honestly, if you're a Cyber Dragon fan, there is a ton of support. So it's honestly not looking that bad to be fair. But right now, I think it's probably as it's doing the best it can do at the moment. But in the future, I'm sure that we'll get more support cards that will help the strategy out.
All right. All right, let's move on to the next one. This is one that people love to say, this is, as a new player, you should get this deck and you should get it now because you can steal some wins. And maybe you can if your name is Lord of Scrubs, and that is Luna Lights.
Yeah, so this deck is really interesting because honestly, I know you're like, oh, Luna Lights suck. I know, yeah, I agree, but in tournaments specifically, you're gonna be, you know, it honestly has a very good matchup against Onomats, which is really popular right now, and it has a good matchup against Water, and arguably, I'd say it even has a good matchup against Noble Knights. And the reason for that is because of the fusion monster Saber Dancer. It being untargetable, it just makes it very annoying for those decks to get over it. Like Karmika, it's not going to work. Then if they don't have Karmika, then they're going to have to beat over it. But they have nothing bigger than that, 3,000 attack. So they have no way to get it off the field, basically. So you just win through that.
Well, Noble Knights, they can just keep equipping things, right?
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes you don't get the. Sometimes you already spent all your gas and
Right.
you don't have any more. So
Or you equip everything and then you get hit with the Sphere Karibo.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So this deck not doing too bad. Do you think the Saber Dancer, do you think it needs the Casitas treatment?
honestly, I think it's fair because you do need to invest 3 cards into it, and sometimes even 4 if they don't have an extra deck monster. So I think Cositis was like a 1 card thing. Alistair Invoke, and then I think
Okay.
it's honestly extremely fair. But you can't play like you have. That's the thing about this deck. You want to play aggressive versus it, but you're also going to be playing into their destiny draw. So that's why you have to be careful.
Right.
So like if you're gonna swing in, you need to have some way to like not get OTK'd, basically.
Well, in this deck, it just seems like it comes in and out of the meta quite a bit. Like this
Yeah,
deck will be hot for a month, and then we won't see it for like 3 months.
yeah. The other interesting thing is with the Yellow Martin. Obviously, when it can return a Lunalight monster to special summon itself, and then you can resummon the monster you added back to your hand, right? But the thing is that it's a level 4. They play a lot of level 4s, so
Right.
they have access to all those XCs as well. So that's something as we get even better XCs monster, this deck just gets better and better. And
All
honestly,
right.
we're even missing some of their really powerful support cards. So this is another deck that,
You want to keep an eye on. All right.
yeah, they do have some very powerful support cards.
Wow. Usually, guests when they come in here to say Luna Light's doo doo and we move on, but PDS says maybe not so bad.
Yeah,
Maybe not so bad.
if you got them going for blue eyes, it's not the worst deck to play if you just want to have some fun, or even
Right.
if you want to be competitive too. If the only deck that really dominates this is Desperado. Like if you go against Desperado, you might as well just concede. Like
Or
honestly,
Cyber Dragons.
yeah, Cyber Dragons or Desperado. Yeah,
Yeah.
those two decks, they're not having any of that Saber Dancer nonsense. They're
Yeah.
just
All right. Let's move on to the next deck. This is one if I play against, I have no idea what to do. I just sit there and just wait. I think Rice, I just hit the trap or the field spell.
yeah,
And that's enough. And that's Megaliths. Do you know anything
yes,
about this deck? I really don't.
yeah. So Megaliths, yeah, they have like no room for text. They have what you see,
Right.
the field spell, the continuous trap, and then like one other card, and that's it. And he's even running 21, so you could bring it down to 20 and just run the field spell and trap. But this deck loses very, very hard to Cosmic Cyclone. That is a devastating card to this deck. You just completely ruin all their grind game. But yeah, this deck is interesting for the access to the XCs with the trap card. They can just
Mm-hmm.
basically make infinite XCs monsters. They summon once on your turn, once on their turn.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, I think the deck has very good matchups against those new OTK decks or the new XCs decks, specifically Water and Onomat, because they don't have access to their normal tricks. Like if they go Onomatopoeia special summon something, that's it. Like they have, or I'm sorry, yeah, they're gonna get really locked up because they have no way to get over the big monsters that this deck brings out.
Okay. It did get a top 8 in Battle Phase EU. I wonder what it is about Battle Phase EU where we're seeing all the rogue decks, but top
Yeah,
8?
the what's his name? The Fa Leg. Yeah, that's the powerful monster. That's the one that
Okay.
it boosts all their guys, and then they run into the same problem as Saber Dancer. And then it's like, all right, they got Karma Cut, just get it out the board, and then you're like, oh, they played 3 of them. So you gotta be ready to deal with all 3 of them.
Ritual decks are hard to deal with, right? Because they recycle so well.
Well, modern ones do. The old ones,
Right.
they played a fair man's game. They have to draw their ritual spell. Like notice, this deck has no ritual spell. They just
Right.
they just go like crazy.
It's just basically contact fusions.
Exactly. Yeah. They're just summoning from the hand.
All right, next deck is one that I think people really want to be good. It's just not. It's not. I mean, it's fun to play. Don't get me wrong, but Satellar Knights, it's just never really done a whole lot. And I'm looking here. Yeah, I got again a top 8 in Battle Phase EU. What is it about Battle Phase EU?
Yeah. So Teller Knights is one of those decks. Honestly, I know I'm gonna sound like a broken record. I actually do like this deck though. I think it has pretty good matchup against all the decks except for Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes is that one. It's kryptonite. The reason for that is 3,000 attack is very hard for this deck to deal with. With like basically this is what happens in the matchup. You summon Deltaros. All right, you pop Blue Eyes. You're like, all right, that Blue Eyes is gone. They summon Blue Eyes. They swing into your Deltaros.
Then you
And
gotta
then
remake it.
you do all your alt. Yeah, you make it again, you pop it, and then they summon Blue Eyes again. They kill your guy. It's basically like
Right.
that's the matchup. But yeah, so the thing that makes this deck so good is just you have the Altair and you can special summon Deltaros back, and then that gives you an insane advantage because Deltaros when it's whenever it leaves the field, so you're gonna get another summon. You get a lot of advantage that way, and then obviously the counter trap. You want to be using it as effectively as possible. So that means you're going to be wanting to negate an on-field effect because if it's in the graveyard and you're negating it, you're not going to draw a card because you can't destroy cards that are in the grave. So yeah, you want to take full advantage of all the tools it has available to it.
Well,
and then obviously, you have the access to the Star Leech Power Dynamo. What were you going to say? Sorry about that.
Oh no, I was just gonna say we have a running joke on here. Basically, how do you know when your deck's getting old or when your deck sucks? When it looks like this. When you're running this much back row to make it function.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a lot of back row. This is
yes.
What is this? 14
you have an insane
12, 15 back row.
This deck, when you resolve serious, you have to be saying, "Are you serious?" Because they get insane like advantage back. They get all their special summon dudes back. It's kind of like imagine they just get all their squires back in Shiranui, like
right.
1 month, and then they also draw a card. It's like what? Like you can do that? It's crazy.
Just anytime I see a deck in the modern meta game that's playing this much back row, I'm thinking it's probably gonna end up on the rogue deck Roundup.
Yeah, and
they just have a hard time keeping up.
Yes, obviously though, it has the same weaknesses as all the other decks. Karma cuts, just gonna dominate. And the other thing about the balance is just two of these, Altair and Vega, and also Sirius. So, what is that? 6 out of your 11 monsters you do not want to draw, and that's one of the deck's weaknesses. You don't want to draw them in your starting hand. You want either the Neb or the Anunku, basically. So it's like, that's basically why the deck isn't. I'm making it sound pretty good, but that's why it's not good because it has a really big consistency problem.
And this version of the deck looks really expensive. I mean, look at all those URs.
Yeah, you got Book of Moons, Cosmics, Fiendish Chains, Canadias.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to be on Rogue Deck Roundup. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Especially a top 8 in Battle Phase EU.
And then you need the Deltaros from a box and then the Dark Teller Knight from another box. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, don't invest in the deck, folks. But if you have it, play it and have fun. All right, last deck. This is one that's near and dear to my heart. It's just a fun little deck that somehow just hangs around, surprises everybody. Let me look. Where did it get its win? Where did it get its point? Oh, Battle Phase Rising Sun. Okay, we can blame Kamel for this one. Top 8 in the Battle Phase of the Rising Sun. And that's Yusenju's. I think this one always just takes people by surprise. Like, they forget how to play against it,
Mm-hmm. For sure, yeah. It's one of those decks that Yosenju Kama 1, non-destruction removal. It's very powerful, especially against the Noble Knight strategy. They bring out their Kustanin or their Artorigas. You're like, nah, you're not floating. You're going back to the extra deck.
Right.
Yeah, so, and then, Noble Knights, where, it is a very strong deck. I think it's very transparent with what it does. It's like, I have a set, I have Artorigas, right?
Right.
So this list right here, this guy's playing Gyoko. So you're like, oh, you have only one spell trap in the field. All right, Gyoko. Almost summon Kama 1, and then just push him in. So
right.
Yeah. It's taking full advantage of that. And then obviously the Sword Sting, another non-destruction removal, which is very powerful in this meta. It's because there's a lot of things that flow after they're destroyed.
Yep.
So, yeah, I could totally see how this deck was doing so well. And then obviously he's got those drownings in there. He's got Kite Roy.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah. Could you imagine? People just forget about Drowning Mirror Force being a card, and then could you imagine attacking into one? Oh.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Like drowning versus blue eyes is also pretty insane. Like,
Well, it's another one where it's non-destruction. So
yeah, exactly. This deck is non-destruction removal. The deck, like, you got everything.
well, yeah, and then he's got the obviously the OEMs or whatever in there. So you got those, you got the kite roids,
Yeah.
the
So
drowning. So there's plenty of protection in here. It's a fun little deck. It annoys your opponent more than anything, right?
yes, and then obviously it does have those power plays too. Like Kama One is just really really good in Duel Links. One of my favorite Yosenju monsters for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's got good draw power too if you can land a hit, because the 3 will let you search a card if you do battle damage, and then I don't know how to say it. The Isna she'll let you
Yeah,
draw a
isn't it?
card.
Yeah,
So you can definitely get some draw power going, which this deck desperately needs, because this is one of
yeah,
those decks where you have to be very careful with your card economy.
exactly. Yeah, you really want to get those pluses off of Kama 3, off of Isna. You know, if you can get 2 cards off of Sword Sting, you should go for 2 cards off of Sword Sting.
Oh, that's the worst.
Stuff
You
like
play
that.
you
Yeah,
play Sword Sting and you only have one. You
yeah,
send you in your
mhm,
hand. Oh, that's the worst.
yeah. So, and then obviously this is a deck also that's you don't need to play one of those consistency skills. Like some of the decks on the
Right.
Rogue deck Roundup, you can see they're going to be playing balance because they're just not consistent enough. But this is one where hey, you can play ties that bind because all the monsters summon each other. That's one of the nice things about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Real easy to
really,
make
there's
those
not
many
necessarily
fours.
oh I need to open Madrat or I lose. It's like oh I have some dudes in my hand. Let me just bring them out and start swinging. That's all you got to do.
And any deck that can run Gem Knight Pearl, I'm all for it.
That's right. Ties that bind make it 2,700.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this Rogue deck roundup. I love sitting around talking about decks, whether they're top tier or they're the Rogue deck roundup. It's a lot of fun, and I appreciate PDS coming in. It was a good time.
That's right. Thank you for having me.
Of
I had
course,
a lot of fun.
anytime, anytime. So we're gonna get out of here, but you know what you should do? You should get in the Discord because it's free. The tournaments are free. The new player help is free. You can say hello to our new player helpers. We got some new ones in there, so say hi to them. Oh, you know what, PDS? I forgot to tell you this. Did you
What's
know
up,
that
man?
only like 50% of the people watching this video are subscribed?
I think I've heard that somewhere. And honestly, they should hit subscribe right now.
They should. I'm gonna put this as the intro. I did it with Rye. I'm gonna do it with you.
It's
All
a good
right,
idea.
guys. We're gonna get out of here. I'm Circus. That's PDS.
Peace.
There you go. We'll see you next time.